Gentlemen, I'm about to reveal a truth most men are too afraid to face. Your wife is hiding something. And it's not just an innocent secret, it's something that could tear your world apart if you're not paying attention. Today, I'm going to show you the 7 most effective ways to catch a cheating wife using something as simple as GPS. Stick with me until the end, and you'll have the tools to expose every lie. But first, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop your city in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from. Way 1. The power of GPS. Let's dive into something most men overlook: technology. We're talking about a tool that's already at your fingertips, one that can track every move she makes. GPS. But it's not just about knowing where she is. It's about using it to reveal the truth, step by step, in a way she can't easily cover up. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not as simple as just tracking her every move. It's about catching those subtle signs, those places she forgot to mention, the timing that doesn't quite add up, and the erratic detours she takes when she thinks you're not looking. Start with her phone. No, don't go snooping just yet, but pay attention to the small things. Does she leave her phone unattended less often? Suddenly taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom? If she's always had a carefree relationship with her phone, and now she's treating it like an untouchable artifact, that's your first red flag. It's a subtle sign that something's hiding behind those screen taps. But here's the kicker. GPS is your secret weapon. With it, you can check her location in real time. You don't need to be a detective to start seeing patterns. If she says she's working late or out with a friend, but the GPS says otherwise, the truth is starting to unravel. GPS doesn't lie, and it doesn't forget. It doesn't matter how much she tries to cover her tracks, because once you know how to read the signals, her movements will give her away. Here's how it works. Start tracking her routine. Watch for changes. Did she say she was working late at the office, but the GPS shows she stopped somewhere else first? Maybe she's at a restaurant across town or parked in front of a hotel you've never heard of. This isn't about being paranoid, it's about being observant. GPS doesn't make mistakes, but people do, and they leave a trail. For example, she says she's working late, but you notice that her phone pings at a cafe right near a specific part of town. You don't recognize the place, but the GPS knows it's there. Why would she tell you she's working late, but then park somewhere so far out of the way? Now you've got a choice. Confront her directly, or simply take note and wait for the next piece of the puzzle. The beauty of GPS is the patience it demands. You don't need to rush, you don't need to accuse, you just need to observe. And trust me, what it reveals next will shock you. But GPS isn't your only tool. There's another tactic that will force her to give up the truth without even knowing it. The next trick. It's far more psychological, and it's going to turn everything you thought you knew upside down. Way 2. The "I was just at work" excuse. Let's be honest here. How many times has she told you she's been working late? It's the perfect alibi, right? You trust her, so you don't think twice. But what if I told you that this excuse is the most common lie cheaters use to cover their tracks, and you've been handed the perfect tool to catch it in the act? Here's the thing. When she tells you she's at work late, what she's really doing is expecting you to believe it without question. It's an easy one because it's a place you can't exactly track. She's out of sight, and you're left wondering, did she really stay that extra hour to finish those reports, or is she somewhere else entirely? Here's where GPS comes into play. If she's telling you she's working late, but you don't have access to her office or the exact details of her hours, the GPS data becomes your lifeline. You can see her every move, every stop, every turn, even when she's not around. You're not just waiting for her to come home and hope she's being honest. You're proactively tracking, watching for those moments when her story doesn't line up with the evidence. Take a moment to think about the specifics. If she says she's working late, but the GPS shows her at a random restaurant or on the outskirts of town, nowhere near her office, you've got a problem. Is it a coworker meeting? Perhaps. But when you check her phone later and notice that she's been texting someone, maybe not a colleague, maybe someone she's never mentioned before, The pieces start to fall into place. Here's the real kicker. When you ask her about it, you'll notice something strange. The guilt. It's in her voice, in her hesitation, in the way she tries to justify her actions. But here's the secret. Most of the time, a cheater's instinct is to deflect. She won't give you a clear answer. Instead, she'll turn it back on you. Why are you always checking up on me? Do you trust me at all? This is the moment where most men back down. They start second-guessing themselves. But what if you don't? What if you keep your cool and continue pushing? Not by accusing her, but by simply pointing out the discrepancy in her story. Trust me, this is when things start to get uncomfortable for her. But you're not done yet. There's something else that's even more powerful than the GPS. And it's going to push her to break under the pressure. You'll want to stay tuned because the next step takes everything to a new level. Way 3. Hidden apps and vanishing messages. If you've been paying attention, you've already spotted some red flags. Her phone habits, her sudden secrecy, and the way she guards it like it's a vault. But here's where things get even more insidious. Cheating wives are no longer just hiding messages in their inboxes. They've moved on to apps that disappear, apps designed to leave no trace behind. These are the real game changers, and once you know how to spot them, you'll realize how far she's gone to cover her tracks. Let's start with the basics, disappearing messages. Most of us know about apps like Snapchat or Instagram, where messages can vanish the moment they're read, but cheaters don't stop there. There are apps like Signal, Telegram, and Wicker, apps designed specifically for secrecy. They let people chat freely, knowing that any evidence they leave behind is temporary at best. But here's the thing. Most women think they're being clever, using these apps to cover their tracks, but there's always a slip-up. Whether it's the app icon she forgot to hide, or a notification that pops up just a little too fast, she's leaving hints everywhere. Pay attention when she suddenly becomes obsessive about clearing her notifications. If she's constantly checking her phone and quickly swiping away messages when you're around, you've got a problem. A cheater is terrified that you might catch a glimpse of something, a name, a time, a message that shouldn't be there. If she's acting like a guilty teenager, that's a sign she's hiding something far worse than just a few missed texts. Now, let's talk about the hidden apps. These are apps that might look innocent at first glance. Calculator apps, note-taking apps, or even games can be transformed into secret hiding places for texts, images, and contacts. They're designed to look like normal apps, but once you enter a password or a code, the real secrets are revealed. Think about it. When was the last time you checked her calculator app or her notes section? You should, because these hidden spaces can be where she stores the conversations she's desperately trying to keep from you. And here's the catch. When you find these apps, they'll seem completely normal at first. But as you dig deeper, you'll find messages, photos, and even locations that tell an entirely different story. But this isn't just about finding apps. It's about how you react when you do. The next move will test her composure and give you the information you need to push further. Stay tuned, because what comes next will make her panic in a way you've never seen before. Way 4. The silent GPS trick. There's a subtle but powerful tactic you can use to uncover the truth. The silent GPS trick. It's not about confronting her directly, not yet at least. It's about using silence to your advantage and letting the GPS data do the talking for you. This move relies on the fact that women, like anyone hiding something, become uncomfortable when they're under pressure, especially when they think they're about to be caught. Here's how it works. You've already started tracking her movements with GPS, right? You've noticed things don't always add up. Maybe she says she's going to the grocery store, but GPS shows her at a completely different location. Or perhaps she claims she's meeting a friend, but the map places her somewhere far away. The key is not to bring it up immediately. Instead, sit on this information. Let it sit like a pressure cooker, waiting for the right moment. When she returns home, act like everything's normal. Don't mention the location discrepancies. Don't ask questions. Just act as though you don't suspect a thing. The goal here is to see if her behavior changes in any way. Is she overly defensive? Does she act nervous when you're around? If you're really paying attention, her body language will give her away. Women, when hiding guilt, often become jittery, fidgety, or overly cautious about their words. They can't help it. The silent pressure of knowing someone might have caught on to their lies is enough to send them into a defensive frenzy. This is the beauty of the silent GPS trick. You're letting her stew in her own guilt. You're creating a psychological trap where she begins to second-guess herself. Did he see where I really was? What if he finds out I wasn't really where I said I was? The silence builds an atmosphere of suspicion, and that's when the cracks start to form. Watch carefully for the subtle shifts in her behavior. If she suddenly becomes clingy or tries to be extra affectionate, it's a classic sign of overcompensation. But if she becomes distant or cold, that's also a red flag. Either way, something's off, and she knows it. But here's the kicker. This trick isn't just about watching her squirm. It's about what comes next. Once you let her stew in that guilt, you can drop a bombshell that will have her spilling everything. And trust me, it's going to shake her to the core. You won't want to miss what happens next. Way 5. The overcompensating wife. When guilt takes hold, some women don't confess. They try to cover it up. And the way they do that? Overcompensation. If you notice your wife suddenly becoming perfect, it's not because she's fallen in love with you all over again. It's guilt eating at her, and she's trying to make up for her betrayal by being excessively loving. Suddenly, she's cooking your favorite meals, showering you with compliments, and being more affectionate than she has in months. This kind of change isn't just her showing love. It's her attempt to erase the guilt she feels. It's a knee-jerk reaction to her own behavior, trying to balance the emotional scales by being extra nice. But it's forced. You can feel it's not the same as when she used to do these things without thinking. Take Sarah's case. For months, her husband Mark barely got a genuine conversation out of her. She was distant, uninterested, too busy with work. Then, suddenly, she's planning elaborate breakfasts, texting him all day, and even buys him a $500 watch out of nowhere. Mark, confused but relieved, thought their marriage was healing, but the truth was, Sarah was desperately trying to erase the guilt of her affair. The key to recognizing overcompensation is that it's too extreme, too sudden. Real love isn't something that shows up overnight. It builds gradually. What you're seeing is a woman trying to cover up her tracks with affection. But here's the thing. No matter how many sweet gestures she makes, the guilt remains. And that guilt will start to reveal itself in ways you can't ignore. The overcompensation will fade, and once it does, you'll start noticing the cracks. It's only a matter of time before she slips up. And just when you think you've seen it all, the next behavior she displays will make everything more clear. What comes next is more revealing than any overcompensating gesture. You won't want to miss it. Way 6. The social media trail cheaters are clever, but they often forget one thing: the digital footprint they leave behind. Social media isn't just for showing off vacations or cute selfies. For someone living a double life, it's also a hidden diary of where they've been and what they've been doing. And while she may be trying to erase everything, there are always signs that she can't quite scrub away. If you know where to look, social media will spill the secrets she thinks she's hiding. Start by paying attention to her behavior online. Has she recently purged old posts or unfollowed people? A woman who's hiding something will often try to cover her tracks by erasing traces of the past. You might notice that she's deleted photos of the two of you together, especially those happy, intimate moments from trips or vacations. Why would she do that? To hide the history between you from the person she's involved with. She's trying to create a cleaner narrative, one where she doesn't have to explain why those pictures are still up. But it's the changes in her social media interactions that can tell you the most. Has she started posting a lot more than usual? Suddenly, she's posting selfies, pictures with friends you've never heard of, or her out at restaurants you've never been to. These new posts are not for you. They're for someone else. In fact, the whole tone of her social media activity can shift when she's hiding an affair. Maybe she starts posting more pictures of herself alone, dressed to impress, or at events you know she didn't attend with you. This is where the real red flags live. Even more telling, check for hidden accounts. You might think you know all her social media profiles, but that's often far from the truth. Some cheaters create a second account under a different name, a fake one that only the person they're seeing knows about. If you suspect this, try searching for her by the email address or phone number she doesn't use for her public profile. You'd be surprised what you might find. But here's the kicker. The most dangerous thing about social media isn't the obvious lies. It's the hidden ones. The accounts, the fake personas, the digital camouflage. If you know how to look, you'll uncover even more secrets. And let me tell you, this isn't where the trail ends. There's one more piece of the puzzle that'll reveal the full picture, and it's something most men overlook completely. What you find next will shock you. Way 7. The alibi game. There's one thing every cheater relies on to stay one step ahead: the perfect alibi. It's not just about telling lies. It's about creating a web of lies so intricate that no one, especially you, can untangle it. But here's the thing. Even the best-laid alibis have flaws. And if you pay attention, you'll find the cracks where the truth leaks out. Start by observing her friends. More specifically, pay attention to how often she leans on them for her alibis. You'll hear phrases like, "I was with Jessica last night," or "I'm meeting Karen for coffee." But here's the catch. Her friends are playing a role in this game too. They've become unwitting, or sometimes very aware, accomplices in her lie. She's counting on you not to dig deeper, but if you do, you'll find something strange. Those friends might start acting weird around you, or they might slip up when you ask for specifics about her outings. Take note of when and where she claims to have been. For example, if she says she was out with a friend at a restaurant, but you've never heard of that place before, that's a red flag. Women who cheat tend to choose obscure, unmemorable locations for these rendezvous, places they can easily deny or forget later. Ask her about the evening she spent out with Jessica, and listen to her details carefully. Does she seem to remember everything? Or does she stutter, hesitate, or give inconsistent explanations? That's a classic sign of a fabricated alibi. The key here is to not take her word for it. Start asking questions. But don't accuse her outright. Instead, casually ask for more information. So, which restaurant did you go to again? Or, what time did you meet Karen? Was that after work? Watch how she reacts. Does she get defensive or annoyed that you're probing? Or does she keep giving you answers that don't quite line up? The longer she keeps up the charade, the more desperate her alibis will get. That's when she'll start making mistakes. Small, unintentional ones, like talking about someone or somewhere she shouldn't know. See you in the next video.